Okay, welcome to today's meeting. Can you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, board, do you have any announcements? No. I guess the announcement is Cliff is not here, so I'm going to be chairing the meeting. Thank you. Hold the applause until after. Okay, so we'll move on to public comment. Any item of interest to the public that is within the subject jurisdiction of the board and is not posted on the consent or regular agendas may be addressed during the public comment period. California law prohibits the board from taking action on any matter which is not posted on the agenda unless it is determined to be an emergency by the Board of Supervisors. If public comment is completed before the 30-minute allotted time period, the board may immediately move to the regular agenda. If public comment is not completed during the allotted time period, it will be continued at the conclusion of the consent agenda in order to provide an opportunity for the remainder of comments to be heard. Okay, and we're going to have 3 minutes today. Well.
Marty Crane, Valley Springs. I would like to talk about public comment. We all talk about it. We talked about it many times in the past, had study sessions on it. And the biggest thing always seems to be, how long are we going to get to talk? You know? And it's been said by Chair Edson that, well, we let you speak. Well, I take offense to that. You don't let us speak. We are the boss. This is our right, our responsibility. This is where we speak and we are actively engaged in designing our own government. It was also stated that, well, you get to get up here every week and vent. We do not get up here to vent. We get up here to share our thoughts and concerns about our government. And I hope I have everyone's attention because I feel that this is basic to everything that happens in this room. And a lot of why a lot of people decide not to get up here and speak because they're maybe tired of or afraid of being lambasted. So first I want to say that there are two different kinds of public comment. The first is what we're doing right now. This is where it has nothing to do, it's not on the current agenda. This is where you listen and you learn from your bosses, from we the people, the designers of this government, and we all hopefully learn from each other. And you don't respond, you just take notes, hoping you're taking notes today. And the second is when we get up for an agenda item, and we ask questions. We're not sure of something. Hopefully we've done our research so we're not just trying to learn it all right here. But this is where we ask questions to clarify things, and then department heads and or the supervisors, everyone in the room, makes notes, makes a list of all the questions and concerns that came up. And then when the community is finished speaking, you answer all those questions and concerns. Go down the list. And there have been 2 people in all the years that I've been going to these meetings, well before 2002.
30 seconds.
There have been 2 people where you have said, did that answer your concern? Did we get all your questions? 2 people, okay? So just a little thought on that. But you answer all the questions and concerns, and then you have and then you can, it's a dialogue in case there's some clarification. 2 weeks ago, and this is maybe past my 3 minutes, but it is a point of order. 2 weeks ago, I'm taking a point of order here.
Thanks, Marty. That's 3 minutes.
But this is a point of order.
I know, that's 3 minutes. Come on,
I'm going to bring it back up in every public comment that you've got today.
Okay, that sounds good. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Marlene Bronner. I am a child support supervisor with Central Sierra Child Support Agency, and I'm here to announce that August is Child Support Awareness Month. And that's not talked about too much. May I hand out a brochure for our agency? I just wanted to make the board aware of what we're doing. Central Sierra Child Support Agency is a joint powers agreement, which is the counties of Alpine, Amador, Calaveras, and Tuolumne counties. And we help mothers, fathers, grandparents, and other family members with getting child support into their homes to help raise the children that are in their homes. The structure of the family can change over time, but the needs of the children continue to be the same. Children do best when they have parents and other family members who remain committed to helping them grow and thrive throughout childhood. Our agency assists parents and other relatives raising children with locating parents, establishing parentage, reaching agreement with the parents to establish child support, establishing, modifying, and enforcing a monetary or medical support order. The brochure I provided each of you gives a brief synopsis of our services and how to apply for those services. And I just want to give some good news as to what we do for the County of Calaveras. Central Sierra Child Support Agency currently has 1,607 cases in Calaveras County where we're collecting child support for families. We're serving 1,497 children in Calaveras County. And for the current fiscal year, which is October through July so far, we distributed $2.5 million into the homes in Calaveras County in child support for the customers. We've collected 78.27% of the current child support due, and we've collected 70.57% of the child support arrears due. I just want to say that we want to thank the board members here who have served on our joint powers agreement. Debbie Pawnee, Michael Oliveira, Chris Wright, and Cliff Edson. We really appreciate the work you do in helping support our agency. And I just wanted to give my thanks and let everybody know about this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Rosemary Wilson, now in Arnold. I wanted to thank Supervisor Ponte for her following up on Calaveras Recovers and my concerns with regard to that. She's following up and still in process, so I look forward to hearing the final outcome of that so as to better serve the people of Calaveras County. I do have something I'd like to pass to Debbie through Diane, perhaps, and that's the name of the organization that first took my intake information.
Thank you, Rosemary.
That suddenly came to me. And the other thing I wanted to do was to thank Diane and Susan and most likely the IT people and the support people for bringing the meeting online. I haven't been attending the last couple of weeks. I've been writing out an inventory of anything from rice pudding to sofas, etc. But it's certainly nice to be able to listen to you live as the action happens down here when you're up in Arnold and elsewhere. So thank you for that.
Such a nice, calm day. I'm Mr. Reyes from the 5th District, and mark the calendar. I will agree with Mary Crane in a great portion of it, and sometimes people forget that we're not here as a public for your benefit. I believe elected officials and whoever they hire, staff, you're here for our benefit. I mean, it's not... Eventually, whenever you say something that you want to compassionate and generous, whatever, when I see people up at the bench reaching their pocket, that's great. But whenever you do something, you're reaching in someone else's pocket, okay? So most of the time, it's a very good cause. But your generosity is always at your constituents' expense. I like to say that. The other thing that's concerned me, came to my attention that some officials and ex-officials having discussion and policymakers in private surroundings, in private homes. And we had that problem before I don't care if it was Lundgren, who was the ex-Attorney General, and majority of the board decided to have a little discussion with him. What came out of it were, folks, FEMA. And I think we're still trying to dig ourselves out of the first FEMA's generosity. And if FEMA's taking consultation with anybody in private surroundings, folks, it's not going to go the same way. There's an old saying, do me once, shame on you. Do me twice, shame on me. Third time I deserve it. I don't think this community deserves to the second spot. I know you can, you got to be diplomatic. But folks, when you total up how much it's costing to help the people and how many people milking it and taking advantage of it,
30 seconds.
look at the numbers. And I hopefully that in the future, it's not what people intend to do for the community. I want to see what they accomplished for the last time they got the money. We don't get paid. We don't make successful to be good intentions. We should be judged by what we accomplished. Thank you. And I know most of the people don't know what the hell I'm talking about. But there's a couple of people listening to that camera. There are people aware of what's going on outside of this room also. If they think they're going to get away with it, forget it. It's not going to happen again this time in this county. Thank you.
Thanks, Mayor. More public comment? Seeing none, we'll move to, oh, sorry.
Bill McManus, Hanford Hill. Today I want to take care of some old business. A couple weeks ago, there were some discussions that occurred here that I'm not quite sure why it happened. My remarks are really primarily meant for my supervisor. And what I want to do is to, I don't know if I twisted a word, misspoke, someone misheard. Doesn't make any difference. I'm here to make my position crystal clear, and I want to state what my position is. In regards to law enforcement in Calaveras County, there has been no one more supportive of law enforcement than myself. I've lived up here for 35 years, and I've seen the steady decline in funding and the risk to the public because of what's happened. I'm hoping that new boards, starting next year and beyond, will appreciate trying to turn that situation around. I know it can't be fixed overnight. I know it's going to take a long commitment. But from what I've seen, take marijuana out of the equation, totally out. Our Sheriff's Department has had cut after cut after cut. And I remember the days when we had resident deputies. I remember the days when response times were a lot lower than they are now. And I think the Sheriff's Department is doing a tremendous job with the resources that they're being given. I don't think they're getting enough resources, but that's not up to me. That's up to you guys. And so I hope that public safety starts taking a priority in this county, and we start looking at the Sheriff's Department as the last line between the safety of the citizens and the bad actors that are out there. No one else is going to do it. But I want to make my position crystal clear. I have the highest respect for our Sheriff's Department, as I do for all law enforcement, whether it's Highway Patrol, Fish and Game, anybody, police chiefs, sheriffs, deputies. I talk to them all. I always shake their hand. I thank them for their service. And I always tell them one thing: please do me a favor before we leave each other's company. And they always think I'm going to ask them something. Okay, I'll do you a favor. What's that? I said, please be safe. These people are in harm's way, and we have to do everything to protect them so that they can protect us.
30 seconds.
So anyway, I just wanted to get that straightened up. And if there's any question about my support for law enforcement, I would appreciate a private conversation next time. Otherwise, we'll have to do this again. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more public comment? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to agenda item number 1.
Agenda item number 1 is from the Administrative Office to receive a report from the Board Chair, Department Heads, Cal OES, and FEMA update on Butte fire recovery.
Jeff?
I was just going to say, I know the question, I have had a few emails regarding an additional grant through Gulf State Financial Authority for victims of the fire. They are working on another grant. A resolution was going through. I spoke with representatives from RCRC. The program isn't up and running yet, but it is something that we should be seeing some additional funding to help with victims with recovery in the future. And as I have more information, I will provide that to you.
Thank you. Jeff Krovitz, Public Works. As the board knows, we have executed a contract with Phillips and Jordan for the removal of hazardous trees that were killed by the Butte Fire. We've had a kickoff meeting in our first combined weekly meeting with Phillips and Jordan and our arborist, Tetra Tech, and all is moving ahead. We are receiving submittals and expect to have all submittals in-house reviewed, approved, and back to the contractor. And we're also having weekly meetings with FEMA to get the NEPA clearance for this work. So my current estimate is 3 to 4 weeks. We will have boots on the ground and trees hauled out of the fire area. We have one site that is ready for a debris management site down in Wallace, and there are 2 other sites that are in the process of getting permitted, so for this work. In terms of Tetra Tech, they are gearing up. They've made 13 local hires for inspectors during the tree removal process. They've got 4 more to hire. These are all local jobs, and so I'll be reporting in the next several weeks about the number of local jobs produced by this particular grant program. In terms of the right of entry, so I've got about 114 that are in, around 80 are complete. Of those 80, the majority of them have already been surveyed and the trees have been marked. Many of the right of entries come in incomplete without a property owner checking whether they have insurance or do not have insurance, or there's 2 owners listed and only 1 is signed. So there are some cleanup that we need to do with the right of entries. Public Works will be sending out a press release in the next day or 2 to answer frequently asked questions concerning the right of entries, and that will be posted on Public Works and the Fire Recovery website. We discovered about 2.5 weeks ago, as a result of the community meeting in Mountain Ranch, that there was a section of Mountain Ranch Road above the community of Mountain Ranch itself that was missed in the original assessment. It drove up the number of right-of-way trees. There are now 1,922 identified and marked right-of-way trees. There are approximately 1,621 right-of-entry trees that have been marked legally, and these have all been forwarded up to Cal OES and FEMA. The marking continues. Phillips and Jordan currently has 7 crews that are ready to go to work, and they will be training 6 more. A crew is anywhere from 6 to 10 people. Generally includes logging truck, loader, skid steers, traffic control, tree fellers, superintendent, supervisors. So they're intending for the first rush of work initially to have about 13 crews that are working simultaneously within the county to get these trees out. We really believe that we're going to have the majority of the trees gone to debris management sites by the end of the year. Questions on that?
Question, Mr. Provost. You say P&J is low, they're actually geared up with how many crews?
7 currently.
7 with logging, transportation, everything?
Yes.
How many of those are local contractors?
I don't know. They haven't provided me with the information. We requested it at our meeting on Monday, and they will start providing that to us on a weekly basis.
And you provide that information to the board?
Absolutely.
And to the public?
And the board is the public. Okay. Let's see, what else? We're continuing to complete our DAFs, our damage assessment forms, which is part of the ER repair program. We have sent DAFs for about 30 miles of road work to Caltrans for initial review and approval. Once we get the 41 miles that we have, they will all go up to federal highways to get approval for that work. We are in process of trying to prepare the construction RFPs for the two contracts, one for ER and one for PA. PA is the FEMA grant, and the ER is the federal highway grant for repair of fire damage to our public roadways within the burn area. We're anticipating more than one contract. We will probably keep the contractors separate. So ER will be one group of contractors, and PA will be a second set of contractors to help assist us with keeping the paperwork straight, because it's two different funding agencies. They both start with an F and end with an A. Questions on the PAER?
Call me the question guy.
Okay.
This might dovetail into our previous subject we asked about. Our right of entry forms, are they completed by each individual utility or entity to the private owner? In other words, one does not fit all. Is that correct, or am I incorrect?
No. For example, we have owners out in the burn area that own 5 adjacent parcels, all of them along, say, Jesus Maria Road, that will require a right of entry for every parcel. And it feels like a lot of paperwork, but that's what we have to do. Now, in terms of government-owned land within the burn area, BLM has 5 or 6 parcels. We don't need a right of entry from BLM. We will be obtaining from them a letter giving us permission to remove burned trees 100 feet from center line in both directions on all of their parcels.
What I was getting at was, in our tree mortality meeting yesterday, we discussed that if you have like PG&E and the water company and Caltrans, they're going to need a separate right-of-way agreement with the property owner for all 3. One will not suffice for all 3, is that correct?
Each individual entity has their own rights.
Okay.
And therefore, one right of entry does not contain permission for all 3. So for example, let's say we have State Route 4. Adjacent to that, we have an easement that PG&E has for public utilities, and just outside of it, there might be yet another easement for water district. Okay? So you have right-of-way, easement, easement. The 2 easements, actually all 3, would require right of entry, so that Caltrans has the ability to enter the PG&E easement on private lands to fall and remove or treat trees that have the potential for affecting state right-of-way.
I want to make that clear for the public.
And then the right of entry will be needed by PG&E. Actually, PG&E doesn't need a right of entry to get onto their easement. That is a permanent right that they have. But if they're going to go on and remove trees, not just fall trees, then they would need a right of entry to be able to enter the land, to be able to remove the felled trees. The same thing would be true of CCWD. The right of entry is granted within the easement permanently for the utilities, but the right to remove the trees is not.
Shirley has something to add.
So Supervisor Oliveira, what I think you're asking is that if CCWD needed to get into a piece of property, if PG&E needed to get into a piece of homeowner's property, if the county needed to, yes, each of those entities would need their own right of entry forms. Excuse me. Just like we had to do different right of entry forms for the home debris removal that was done under the Environmental Management Agency, and Public Works is having to do a different right of entry for the tree removal versus the home debris removal, because there are certain different requirements, so it would require different rights of entry. You couldn't combine them into one.
Thank you, Steve. And like I said, I want to make sure that the public understood that. That was kind of a confusing issue.
One more answer to the question that you didn't ask, Supervisor Oliveira, is the right of entry for debris removal burned buildings ended upon completion of that program. So once the work on a given parcel was done and then certified and accepted, that right of entry was no longer valid. So when we go back and re-enter that same piece of property to remove trees, burned trees along the right-of-way, that is also debris removal. However, it requires a separate right of entry, and that right of entry will also expire upon completion of the removal program and certification by FEMA.
That's perfectly clear, hopefully.
Okay. Did that answer the question?
It does.
Any more questions from the board?
Do we know yet where all the burned trees are going, for sure?
We don't know the disposition of all of them. What the contractor's attempting to do is identify a couple of log sort and storage yards within the burn area, and potentially one or two outside of the burn area for those logs that are obviously going to be transported to subsequent use, such as a sawmill or to a biomass plant. The contractor already has a contract with a biomass plant in Lincoln, where a lot of this is scheduled to be hauled to. But no, at this point in time, I know that the Wallace Yard is a fixed location that will be shared by the Butte Fire Burn as well as by PG&E for the hauling of their logs off of their utility easements. And there's two others that are currently in negotiation that I can't speak to yet.
Thank you.
That concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you.
Other staff reports?
The only other thing that Jason Bates, our Director of Environmental Management Agency, wanted to mention that the RFP for the insurance billing closes this Friday, and he will be bringing that to the board in the near future. And that, as you recall, Cal Recycle went in and cleaned up the homes and the debris and the burned debris, but for those people who had insurance, there is the requirement to bill those insurance companies.
And I think Supervisor Bonnie had a report.
Yes, I have a couple of reports that I want to read. One is on Calaveras Recovers. They submitted a report to us several weeks ago, and I have not been able to attend their meeting, so I'm taking this opportunity to read their report and share with the rest of the board and the community. Calaveras Recovers, a little bit about their background. After the initial response, FEMA gathered individuals, organizations, and groups with the sole purpose of forming a long-term recovery team to respond to the Butte fire. As a result, a board of directors and bylaws were established. The primary goal of the group is to rebuild homes of the uninsured and underinsured. Calaveras Recovers recognizes that perhaps the survivors should have had insurance. However, our goal is to rebuild a community and not pass judgment on the decision of others. They needed to find a 501c3 to act as a fiduciary. They chose and are working with Amador Community Foundation as a fiduciary, primarily because this particular foundation is more or less full service and staffed on a regular basis to be able to handle their needs. They had a website that was created by a college student. They have a PR committee that writes press releases and maintains the social media presence. They have an office. They have a trailer in the Mountain Ranch Community Park. Initially, it was staffed again by volunteers and opened pretty much 5 days a week. Currently, they downsized a bit to be open 3 days a week, Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, and they have signage on the trailer to let folks know their hours of operation. But anything associated with Calaveras Recovers, people can go to that trailer and find out a little bit more information, as well as updates as the progress of the group and what they're working on. They went through a series of training case managers to work with clients. Case managers have been trained by partner organizations. The process is time-consuming and very detailed. The needs of the client are ascertained, and then Calaveras Recovers finds assistance for their immediate needs through the Red Cross, community-funded grants, community organizations, etc. Red Cross has played a key role in case management. They are also working with emotional and spiritual care and continue to work in this fashion. It's the most important function through the rebuilding process. This work is being done daily by volunteers, and then clients are referred as necessary. They have contact with national partners to assist with the rebuilds. This includes through FEMA. They've made contact with several faith-based organizations. UMCOR, UMCOR, United Methodist, provided training, funding a case management position. World Renew has provided training, and it is part of the building process. National Mennonite Disaster Organization is also a part of the building process. And CAM, which stands for Christian Aid Ministry, is also a part of the building process. The funding for Calaveras Recovers, they haven't had as much success fundraising as they had desired. However, Calaveras Recovers has been successful through community partners. They currently have $242,000 in the bank. They have pledges for $163,000. In addition, the Calaveras Community Foundation has committed $40,000 per home, up to $200,000. Recently, the grant writing team has applied for 14 grants. The executive team works with FEMA, works with Cal OES, attends the county briefings, and communicates on a regular basis with the county assessor, the building department, planning department, environmental health, public health, and the public information officer. There are two types of homes that Calaveras Recover will rebuild. One is called a resource home, which is prioritized by the client's own resources. The other is called a needs home, which is prioritized by the client's needs. Where they are now, and this is as of June. Originally, working with FEMA, they registered 1,179 people. Red Cross had 571 registered families. Through casework, that was narrowed down to 267 with needs. Currently, Calaveras Recover has 176 open cases. 68 are in need of assistance rebuilding their homes. $137,000 of the county grant has been distributed for health and safety issues. The cost of each home is approximately $80,000. This includes materials, permits, taxes, and insurances for 1 year. Total amount needed to complete the project is $5,444,000 over the next 5 to 7 years. This could change depending upon the client's resources or if they opt out of the program. The rebuild in 2016, Calaveras Recovers thus far has started 2 homes. These are both resource homes. The local Mennonite community is building them. In August, they are planning to start the 3rd home. This is an in-needs home, which will be built by the Church of the Nazarene in Sutter Creek. In October, the National Mennonite Disaster Organization will build 3 homes. In addition, World Renew will start 3 homes. Currently, Calaveras Recover has the resources to build the first 9. However, in order to complete the other 59 needed homes, we will require additional resources. A comment about the PG&E lawsuit. Calaveras Recovers recognizes that many clients might receive settlements from PG&E. However, we doubt that said settlements will make them whole. And if our clients receive funds, they will then become a resource house versus a needs house, or perhaps rebuild on their own. Deeds and closing documents. In the event a client decides to sell their house in the first 5 years, they will have to repay Calaveras Recovers. The payment schedule is on a sliding scale. The clients will be required to have insurance. After 5 years, the house is a gift and title is clear. Calaveras Recover respectfully asks the Board of Supervisors to fund a project manager and an administrative assistant. In order to be successful and move forward, Calaveras Recovers needs these 2 paid positions. Managing the recovery is a full-time job and has been accomplished to date by volunteers. The response to the community belong to the community, and so does recovery. We look forward to a thoughtful response. I know that over the last several months there has been discussion about funding a position coming from Red Cross, the county, et cetera, and I think that this Calaveras Recovers is looking for some kind of factual information about who's doing what and why. There seems to be some confusion there. So whether or not it becomes in a written response, or if perhaps someone can attend the Calaveras Recover board meeting, that would be most helpful. Or Shirley, if you have information now.
I'm more than happy to attend one of the board meetings and try to explain. We initially received a grant from Red Cross of $93,000, and we were in the process of writing, this was back much earlier this year, writing the job descriptions and moving forward with the recruitment. Then Supervisor Edson had a meeting with Red Cross, and Red Cross said that they would hire the position directly. I I had received a couple of emails regarding an interview process that Red Cross was holding on the position. Played a little bit of phone tag with Debbie Calcott with Red Cross. I will follow up on that, and then would be happy to attend the Calaveras Recoverers board meeting and provide them with the information. But it was my understanding that Red Cross was hiring that position directly, and we had stopped the recruitment because of
I think that's
that.
some of the confusion. What they're looking for is someone to be acting as, kind of an overall project manager for all of Calaveras Recovers. There seems to be some thought that, they need someone to manage the actual rebuilding of homes, which they do, but they're looking for someone to kind of administratively be able to manage Calaveras
And
Recovers.
that was the type of position that we were looking
Yeah.
at and Red Cross was looking at to assist them. So I will follow up with Debbie Calcott and find out exactly
Okay.
where that process is.
Thank you.
Last time I knew they were going to be doing interviews.
That would be helpful. And then any follow-up with Alan Cinder, who serves as chair, and Lori Giannini is co-chair of this organization.
I will contact them. And we have been working through Calaveras Recovers with that initial $150,000 grant from Golden State Finance Authority. We have a little less than about $20,000 remaining in that grant. So we made some real differences with helping people.
You did.
Well hookups,
Yeah.
sewer hookups, that type of thing. And we worked through their case management system, and there are people through Health and Human Services that sit on the case management committee. So, and hopefully with the new grant, though RCRC, Golden State Finance Authority, will be limiting each grant to $2,500 is my understanding, where they
Yeah.
didn't put that restriction on the first time, but we will make that contact.
Yeah, out of the $150,000 grant that you make mention of, people have received $137,000 of that grant has been used for health and safety. And just so, there are several positions, but one of the paid positions they currently have is through case management, and that is being funded by United Methodist. So that's another partner that they have. The other thing that I'd like to make mention of is through the Calaveras Community Foundation. I often get calls about, people who donated money during the fire and after the fire to the foundation. Where has the money gone? How is it being spent, etc. So I would like to read this statement because Calaveras Community Foundation has posted a statement, and I think it's important for the community to know how the foundation has administered these monies. So shortly after the Butte fire started on September 9th of last year, the Calaveras Community Foundation created the Disaster Relief Fund to help fire victims. Almost immediately, donations via PayPal began streaming into our small office. Checks from $5 to as large as $100,000 followed, as well as children contributing change. The donors were predominantly from throughout California, but some came from across the country, and even a few from Europe. Groups organized various fundraisers in Northern California. Many other nonprofit organizations based outside of Calaveras County reached out to our foundation with offers of help and money. To date, through the generosity of above donors, we have received over $500,000. Under IRS rules, a 501c3 nonprofit such as CCF is not permitted to give cash directly to fire victims. Fortunately, there is a network of Calaveras-based nonprofits who quickly mobilized to provide direct aid to fire victims. Many of these groups, some based directly inside the fire perimeter, are not normally involved with emergency response, but they saw the need to help and to do so quickly. Almost all of those groups are comprised solely of volunteers. It is those groups listed below that the Calaveras Community Foundation Board decided to financially help as the best and most direct way to help fire victims. Calaveras Grown provided and applied rice straw as an erosion control method. Calaveras County Humane Society paid for veterinary care to animals injured by the fire. Mountain Ranch Relief, most of the funding was used for temporary housing. Friends of the River Flat School provided a variety of care to victims, including bringing in a trailer to distribute necessities like toothpaste, personal items, water, and canned food. Common Grounds provided temporary lodging to seniors during the fire. Friends of Calaveras Animal Services, associated with the Calaveras Humane Society, storage of animal food and supplies donated to them by animal lovers. Calaveras County Habitat for Humanity, aid and home rebuilding. Salvation Army, Calaveras County Unit, direct aid during the fire. The Resource Connection provided storage for donations of food, clothing, furniture, etc. The Central Calaveras Fire and Rescue, the local fire department, replacement of private road names and addresses that were destroyed. The Calaveras County Association of Realtors Charities, storage sheds, power poles, well repair, and similar items to help in the rebuilding of homes. The Calaveras County Arts Council, creation of a fire memorial in Mountain Ranch. The largest and latest grant is $200,000 reserved to aid Calaveras Recovers, a new organization located within the fire perimeter in rebuilding homes. The typical recipient was uninsured or underinsured. Using faith-based donated labor and other financial resources available, they and the victims will rebuild new houses. The Calaveras Community Funds will provide the needed gap funding to build at least 5 homes that might otherwise not be built. To date, over $486,000 has been granted or committed to the groups and purposes identified above. We are thankful that the donations are still coming in, as there are still needs in our community. On behalf of the Calaveras Community Foundation Board of Directors, thank you for your generous donation to the Disaster Relief Fund. So lots of work going on by many, many volunteers in our community and beyond, and thank you.
Thanks, Debbie, that was great. Really appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you very much. There was a lot of energy that took to put that together, and I appreciate it. Do you know when the next board meeting of Calaveras Recovers is?
They are now currently meeting starting in August on the 2nd and 3rd Thursdays of the month, beginning at 4 o'clock. And I can't think of the location of their meeting. I have to get back to you on the location of the meeting. I can't think of it offhand.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Any other board comments?
No, there is one little thing connected with the fire. If you've seen the name Katie Clark, she has an awful lot of energy that she's devoted to helping people recover. And she has spearheaded a drive to get water for people up in the burn area. And there are numerous locations that you can drop off a case or two of drinking water if you so desire to do that, including not only in Sacramento has she got a lot of locations, but also Valley Springs, San Andreas, Angels Camp, Arnold. If anyone wants to know some of these locations and you don't have access to some of the printouts that have been distributed, talk to me after the meeting and I'll be glad to share them with you.
All right, thank you. All right, any public comments?
Are there any public comments? Rosemary Wilson, now living in Arnold. I have to say that there are now 2 things that I need to talk about, and I'll try and speed up, but unfortunately I'm shaking as a result of what Debbie Ponte had to say about how well Calaveras Recovers was. Unfortunately, it appears from Debbie's initial investigation on my behalf, thank you again, she was told that they don't even have me in the database. I have to tell you, when I went down and received my $1,000 voucher from the Resource Connection, they had me in the database, and they, I suspect, were using the same database that Calaveras Recovers are using. Don't know that for a fact, but I suspect that's the case. I would like to see Calaveras Recovers, since they are so intimately involved with the recovery of the county's residents, in that burn area. I would like to see them give an update to the Board of Supervisors on a regular basis, be it monthly, be it every meeting. I have signed up to follow them on Twitter and Facebook. They don't reach out to me. I guess they wouldn't reach out to me because according to this one person, and I'm not sure I really believe what this one person was telling Debbie, I'm not on the list. If you remember, 58-year-old single disabled woman living alone in Mountain Ranch, or would be if it wasn't for the fire. So they've chosen not to include me. I don't know what happened there. But I really do think that they should be more accountable, and I think that they should be sending out some form of newsletter, proactively contacting those people that did sign up, and also broadcasting. Now, what horrifies me is that the Twitter that I got is last night, or I read it last night, goes to what Steve was saying.
20 seconds.
I'm going to have to need more time for this, I'm sorry. There are still people out there that don't have water. Now, on another point, Jeff Krovitz has done remarkable work wearing his fingers and knuckles to the bone. But when it comes to the point that he indicates that the removal of trees is of no cost to the county.
That's the,
Okay, I will be back next time then.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, and we will-
Rosemary, and as I mentioned before, you know, the information, so I will continue to look into this and be in touch with you.
I have every faith that you will do everything in your power to sort this out. Thank you.
And I'll make the request, and I'll have the chair make the request to Calaveras Recovers to see if they can, we can have better coordination between us and their meetings and them and our meetings. So
I appreciate your response.
Thank you.
I'm Mr. Reyes from the 5th District. I don't know if I missed a meeting maybe, but there was some request made months and months ago to give recognition to the first responders. Did I miss a meeting where that was taking place, or it was too busy for everything else? The firefighters, the cops, CHP, and the volunteers. Now, I want to thank you, Bonnie, for bringing those up, because a lot of names you mentioned were there as the first responders, and I really appreciate it. But if this body cannot find the time to recognize the ones who did come through and functioned and actually helped, shame on you. I mean, I've been a pain in the butt for you guys, asking you to do the minimum to recognize the people who actually did respond the first time. Please do it. Another question I have is, I never got a straight answer. What information I read was PG&E, let's say negligence, or whatever you want to call it, caused the fire. I don't know how it was determined. I'm not going to be judge of it. But if that's true, the whole county, but let's say that was an expense to it. And I wonder if this body going to do the right steps to get compensated, because all the money that's going out, even if it's volunteers, but it's still, general funds went out, because I don't think any of the staff's going to do it free. But the county should, and a county population whose general fund is used to mitigate the circumstances that was caused by PG&E. Is that going to be done by locally, or are you going to hire somebody from the outside, or should that be going through a class action suit against PG&E? Maybe somebody can look into it. Somebody's going to do it. But I'd rather do it a reasonable fashion locally than hire some ambulance chaser down the road.
30 seconds.
Thank you.
Marty Crane, Part 2, public comment. When I was here a few minutes ago, I misspoke, and I apologize for that. when you're on this side of the podium and you're listening for the beep, it's difficult and challenging to make sure that you cover everything accurately that you need to cover. And you're on the other side of this podium and you are not restricted by that time, so you can talk as long as you want. So please understand how difficult it is on this side. I misspoke. In the 20-plus years or however long it's been that I have been attending these meetings, it's not in those number of years that there were only 2 people that the board responded to. Did that answer your question, your concerns? It's been in the last couple of years, only 2 people. And I just want to thank you for the respect that you gave to our former speaker here, Rosemary, and addressing her and acknowledging and making sure that her concerns were answered and making plans to move forward and address them further. There's more. I'll be back. Thank you.
Any other public comment? Any other board comments? Did you want to respond to the PG&E?
No, I don't want to respond to PG&E. I do want to respond to the resolution of appreciation. When last we talked about it, we thought since there was going to be certain events going on the first anniversary of the fire, that we would coincide those proclamations with that, those events and that anniversary.
Did you want to make a comment on where we're at on PG&E, or is that just for confidential? Okay, that's fine.
I would just like to actually make the record clear as far as responding to questions that come up during public comment. And that is, staff and the board can receive any information, receive any concerns, receive any questions the public may have, and briefly respond to the questions to the best of our ability. There may be certain questions that are inappropriate for staff or the board to respond because of confidentiality issues or other issues. So we may just decline to respond to a question for various reasons. If a question is posed that the board is in a position that they don't feel that they can take action on that item because they need more information prior to taking action because of the questions posed, they can direct staff to bring that information back at a subsequent meeting. If, however, the board doesn't feel that they need an answer to that question before they feel that they can make a determination and take action on the item before them, they can take action on that item, and then if there are further questions or concerns, they can direct staff to communicate or to work with that member of the public to clarify things outside of the public hearing process. But there is nothing in the Brown Act that requires staff or the board to affirmatively answer and address every single concern that is brought up during public comment before action is taken or before we move on. We certainly try to the best of our ability, but it is not a requirement under the Brown Act to address every single item because there may be certain circumstances such as confidentiality that preclude us from doing so.
Okay. Well, thank you, Megan. Now, we'll move on now to number 2.
Vice Chair, I have one
Yes.
comment. And in regards to Calveras Recovers, I share some concerns with the procedures, what's happened as reported in public comments. I think a presentation by them would be beneficial for the board. Find out where they were, where they're at, and where they're going. I know it's a very, very complete statement provided by Supervisor Ponte. But I don't know how you're going to build a house for $80,000 with permits and labor being provided.
Labor's donated.
Yeah.
I understand, but $80,000 for materials, permits, and everything. I'd like to see how they arrived at that, and just talk to them and get their understanding of the condition.
Okay.
So we can
Thank you, Supervisor. All right, moving on to item 2 now.
Item 2 is from Human Resources. Adopt the attached resolution approving the extended contract with the Sheriff's Management Unit for August 6, 2016 to June 30th, 2017.
Good morning, Board of Supervisors. Judy Hawkins, Human Resources and Risk Director. I am bringing before you the resolution to adopt the contract between Calaveras County and the Sheriff's Management Unit. We've worked very hard with the bargaining team of the Sheriff's Management Unit. I want to thank Jim Macedo and Dennis Hubbardy and their negotiator, Bob Phibbs. We finally finalized our contract. The items that are changed, we are rolling forward pretty much the same contract like we did with the other bargaining units to June 30th, 2017, which they will be in line with all the other bargaining units. The changes to their contract will be, they will be changing their management time off from 56 hours to 80 hours to be used annually. It does not roll over. They will be receiving the same health contribution, county contribution, as the other bargaining units, so their cash in lieu will be staying the same. The employee only will be changing to $552.72. The employee plus one will be $1,090.38. Family, $1,442.82. Their bereavement leave will be going to 24 hours per incident instead of annually. And then effective August 6th, their uniform allowance will be increasing from $825 to $875.04. The cost of these changes to the county for the insurance will be $6,099.36, and for the uniforms, $250. And this does go into effect on August 6th. Any questions?
Any board questions? All right, public comment? Okay, I don't see any public comment, so I'll bring it back to the board for...
I move to approve.
Second.
Okay, motion by Kearney, second by Olivera. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 4-0. One absence. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 3 is from the Public Works Department to approve a resolution authorizing execution of agreement for acquisition of property from permanent right-of-way easement agreement between Calaveras County and Jesus A. Carranza and Mary I. Carranza for the Stagecoach Road Low Water Crossing Replacement Project, BRLO-5930, parentheses 039.
Jeff Kravitz, Public Works Director. This is the second of 3 right-of-way agreements that we will be bringing to the Board of Supervisors for this particular low water crossing, which is going to be replaced with a bridge. This is done under the Highway Bridge Program, and it is fully funded under the toll bridge program for our local match. I brought the first right-of-way agreement to you last month and hope to bring the third right-of-way agreement to you next month so that we can proceed with final design and then move on to construction. Any questions on this particular item, the specific agreement?
Let's move forward.
Public comment?
Wanted to give you a break today, Jeff.
It's be nice to Jeff Day.
Always, always. He really likes me, really. The only question is there had to be any environment impact report on this thing when you're going off the reservation land? Or was there, and was it taking place?
As funding comes from both state and federal sources, both CEQA and NEPA environmental document has been completed and approved by Caltrans with recommendation for approval by this board.
Any other public comments?
Thank you, Jeff. So again, I think we're missing the spirit of public comment. We're asking the questions. You ask questions, and then you keep asking until you get an understanding. When we ask questions, you don't necessarily feel the need to continue on to make sure that we have a clear understanding. So you may not feel like you need any more answers to make a decision, but if you're not on the same page with we the public, then you don't have all the information, and it requires a little bit more discussion. So thank you for clarifying and making sure that Mr. Reyes's comments were addressed. Thank you.
I'm getting suspicious.
I won't get too close then. Good morning, Board. Just to kind of maybe give you a little bit of history here, and I'm pleased to see that the Stagecoach project is moving forward. It's a long time in coming. I want to go back a number of years, like maybe 33 years ago, when a member of the Carranza family worked with my wife, and his Cadillac was constantly getting flooded out as he was going across that low water crossing at Horseshoe. So just a piece of history. This has been going on not just for 5 or 10 or 15 or 20 years. This is 33 years from now. So just to let you know, we need to move forward. You know, not to go off agenda, but the Single Tree Bridge is also a critical issue.
This is the one, just so I'm not cloudy at all on it.
Yes.
Dennis, this is the one that the CSA was involved in
This is on the north side.
identifying and fixing? Because I know there were a couple of them over
There are actually 3.
Okay, 3.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, the CSA, and I'm sure Ms. Supervisor Pawnee could speak to this better than I can. The Single Tree Bridge project is something that's long overdue as well, and they worked real hard to try to save that bridge in the 2003, I think, flood that occurred up there.
But even the CSA, for the record, and Jeff, you can correct me if I'm wrong, got a government grant to correct the
Yes,
problem. Okay.
there was one of them that got half of a $1.2 million grant. I
That's
think it was about 2010.
That's right.
Yeah,
I know
so-
there's been a lot of issues with the bridges over there.
Right. Just wanted to let you know, though, this is a long time in coming.
Did you want to identify yourself as Supervisor-elect Mills? Is that-
You've done it. Thank you, Mr. Wright.
Thank you.
He's a director now.
Thank you, Supervisor-elect Mills. In reference to the 3 bridges out at the subdivision, the one that you're referring to under the grant funding is a plate arch culvert that was completed a number of years ago.
Okay.
And then the other 2, this is a low water crossing, both actually, the other 2 are low water crossings that are currently funded under the Highway Bridge Program. Of note, starting in October of this year, Caltrans will no longer approve low water crossing projects to become bridges under this program. So these 2 that are currently programmed are the last 2 that we will see in this particular age of highway bridge funding. And there's a probability that we would be coming to you in the future to deobligate another low water crossing that's currently under investigation by the county.
Good thing we crossed that stream while we could then, no pun intended.
Nicely done.
Okay,
Any other questions?
I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve?
Second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0 with 1 absent.
Item 4 is from the Administrative Office to award a contract to B&H Publishing for legal advertising public notices for the period of September 1, 2016 through August 31st, 2018, and authorize the County Administrative Officer to sign all related documents.
Thank you. In April of this year, the County Administrative Office issued an RFP, or request for proposal, for legal advertising public notices. The RFP required that the newspaper be adjudicated in newspapers of general circulation. There are 2 such newspapers in Calaveras County that meet that requirement. They are the Calaveras Enterprise and the Valley Spring News. There was an amendment issued because of some questions and extended the time of replying for the RFP. Valley Spring News, or B&H Publishing, was the only newspaper of general circulation that responded to the RFP, and they're within the period required. I worked with Mr. Baptista, owner of B&H Publishing and Valley Spring News. And the contract you have before you is what we are recommending the board approve.
Good morning, Supervisors. I'm Nick Baptista, the editor and publisher of the Valley Springs News. I want to thank you for considering our proposal to publish the legal notices for the county. We've been in business for 33 years. I've been associated with the newspaper for the past 12 years. Although we've concentrated in Valley Springs, we understand through this contract we have to expand our distribution, and we plan to distribute through the rest of the county according to the contract. I know that we're the only bidder, but I want to let you know and the public know that the county will realize about a 41% decrease in the cost of publishing legal notices according to our bid. You have any questions for me?
I did. Thank you. When you, I look at this and I notice it's serving the communities of Valley Springs, Burson, and Wallace. So
Yes.
Are you going to change that tagline there?
We will
Because
probably...
I hope you want to serve the entire county now.
Right. We will probably do what they call a replate. We'll probably have 2 different editions.
Perfect, great. Because that was my main concern is, how can the Valley Springs News cover?
How can you sell a Valley Springs News in Moke Hill? I understand.
At least an acknowledgement of the rest of the county.
Yes, exactly.
Thank you.
Question? Sure. How many bids were submitted to this?
This was the only bid that was submitted.
Only bid? Okay. Has this gone out to contract bid prior to me being seated on the board? Do you know?
It has gone out to bid before, and Calaveras Enterprise was awarded the bid at the last time.
Is that a two-year contract?
It's a 2-year contract with 2 one-year extensions.
Okay. Thank you.
And as Mr. Baptista stated, that one of the requirements is to have distribution of the newspaper throughout the county within 60 days of being awarded of the contract. One of the things that he stated in his response to the RFP, that he has the newspaper stands, or whatever you want to call them.
We have the equipment, and we can order more equipment within the next 60 days.
The only issue regarding in our discussions on the contract was Vallecito, because there was no really central area to put one of those in Vallecito, so we removed that one from the contract. And I don't believe that the Enterprise has a place whereby they have a newspaper stand in Vallecito.
Well, they got a post office in Vallecito.
Yeah,
Did
but
that work?
you cannot put newspapers at the post
understand.
office anymore.
That was just ridiculous. That's a side note.
Again, thank you.
Okay. Any public comment?
I live in Valley Springs, and I do subscribe to our Valley Springs News, and I really appreciate it because it's our news. I've been in all the conversations, a witness to all the conversations over the years with the same issue, and it was always awarded to the Enterprise. And I happened to be in the Enterprise, and I asked him, I said, so what? You're not interested anymore? And he had just seen it and did not get the email, so he didn't know about that. So just for the record, they didn't know about it, but this will be good. I love our paper, and I'm hoping that we can figure out a way to make it so that other people appreciate it enough in the rest of the county to purchase it. Thank you. Thank you, Nick.
And just for the board and the public's information, the RFP was mailed to both newspapers, as well as being posted on the normal site that we post RFPs on. I did receive a phone call from the Enterprise when the agenda came out, and they admit they missed the deadline.
Because the public notice was posted in their paper
Yes, it was.
Ouch.
on April 5th.
Yes, it was. And I explained that to them as well.
Just a point, I'd offer my front yard. We can work out a spot in Vallecito. I'm sure there's places we can put it. If I understand the thing with the post office, but we do have a fire station there. We do have other locations that are meeting locations within the town site. So I'll work with Nick on that.
Thank you.
Is there going to be an announcement then that formally that the public legal notices are going to presumably in the enterprise, if not other places as well, that they're moving? And also, are the legal notices available online?
Those are good questions, Rosemary.
Thank you.
If I was a betting man, I would say on the front page of his paper, there's going to be an announcement.
But
I'd
those
like
of
to hear his
us,
answer.
although we are very fond of what happens in Valley Springs, in Moke Hill Mountain Ranch and Arnold, that may not be the first newspaper of choice. Thank you.
And we will be doing a press release announcing that, plus we will be having a meeting with our department heads that do legal advertising, so they are aware that the paper, the Valley Springs News, will be doing those legal advertising now.
I'm Mr. Reyes from 5th District. I want to thank the board to get this to able to save the county a few dollars for one thing, and I want to give Valley Spring News my sympathy because the way the printed news nowadays, if you look at New York Times, less than half the staff and so on, all over the whole state. It's a tough racket, and I want to thank the board to bring it up, save us 45%, plus it's being printed in this county, and I want to thank everybody involved to get this completed. I mean, I hope it's going to get completed. Thank you.
To answer Rosemary's question, you go to valleyspringsnews.com, and on our top bar, you'll see public notices, and you can just press that, and with one click, you will get all of the public notices that will be appearing in the newspaper.
Wonderful, thank you.
Thank you, Nick. Any other public comments? All right. Board comments? I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0, one absent.
Item 5 is from the Administrative Office to appoint the appointment of applicants to serve on various committees, commissions, advisory boards, and county service areas. We have 3 applications. One is for the Comanche Regional Park Advisory Board. This vacancy was advertised as part of the annual advertisement done at the end of 2015, and an appointment was never made. There's 1 vacancy for a term ending December 31st, 2018 for a member at large. We have an application from Bob Van Bibber. We have vacancies on the PEG TV Commission. This vacancy was also advertised as part of the annual advertisement done at the end of 2015. An appointment was never made. There are 2 vacancies for terms ending December 31st, 2017. 1 for District 2 representative and 1 for a District 5 representative. Catherine Lambie has applied to serve as the District 2 representative and has previously served. And Ples Hill has applied to serve as the District 5 representative, and he has also served in the past.
Any board comments? Any public comments? I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0, one absent. Okay. Now we're going to move to the consent agenda. Consent agenda items are expected to be routine and non-controversial. They will be acted upon by the board at one time without discussion. Any board member, staff member, or interested party may request removal of an item from the consent agenda for later discussions. And anybody from the board or staff want to remove an item?
Mr. Chairman, I reserve until I get a chance to look over another little issue.
Well, hurry up, we got a time limit here.
10:15.
Well,
We're setting a record.
we get work done. Well, I'll go ahead and open up the public and then...
You open the
back to
public
you.
and we can come back.
Yes, Rosemary.
Number 13, please.
13. want to pull? No? Okay, now we're back to the board.
No, I'm satisfied with the rest of the consent agenda.
Okay.
I move to accept.
Okay, second?
Second?
All in favor of the consent agenda minus item number 13?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 4-0, one absent. And we'll go to item 13.
Item 13 is to adopt a resolution continuing a local state of emergency on tree mortality.
Good morning again. I wondered if Supervisor Oliveira might want to take the opportunity to talk about the Saturday meeting that's coming up that he told me about the other day.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I was going to reserve this to board comments and supervisor reporting out. Would you like, the chair, would you like me to address that now or wait till that time in the agenda?
Just go ahead, and since we've got a poll, might as well.
On Saturday, the 13th at 11 o'clock, there is going to be a tree mortality town hall meeting at Avery Middle School in Avery. And we're going to have representatives there from approximately 13 different entities, including PG&E, Caltrans, Cal Fire, CCWD, our utilities companies. This is not a county-sponsored event, if you will. It's an event actually hosted by myself. We're also going to have representatives there from the county to report out on where we are, where we're going to be, and what our current status is with the tree mortality issues. It's open to the public. It's been publicized for the last 5 days in the current media, the Pine Tree. It'll be actually videotaped, hopefully, by our public access TV and by the Pine Tree. The purpose is to give the public a chance to speak directly with the folks that are facing this issue and holding the responsibility and duties to take care of it. This is a reflection of what we're experiencing in the Governor's Task Force, which Supervisor Wright and I sit on, and on our local task force here for Calaveras County, which is headed by Assistant CAO Brian Moss, and which, again, gee, I promoted you already. Supervisor Wright and I are sitting on that committee. I would highly encourage anybody to attend this meeting. There's going to be some great information being disseminated. It's going to give the public a chance to ask the questions and hopefully get the most accurate answers. Supervisor Wright attended the Governor's Task Force meeting yesterday in Sacramento, and that information changes, and I would probably be remiss in saying daily. It changes probably by the hour. We are seeing some movement towards the private property issues and the tree mortality, which I'm experiencing and we're experiencing in District 3 and in Supervisor Wright's district. I highly encourage everybody to attend. There will be ample time and resources to have your questions answered. We've actually solicited questions by email. I will be addressing those questions, and hopefully we'll get some of the duplicates addressed with one response. So once again, please make it a point to be there. This is a very devastating problem. If you'll go down on the website, you'll see under the CSAC, they have produced a video, which is on their website, regarding our tree mortality, not only in our county, but in Tuolumne County and in Amador County. And folks, we're next, and it's here. It's not going to go away, and we need to know how to deal with this.
Did you have a follow-up question, Rosemary?
I just wanted to thank you, Michael and Chris, for keeping on top of this, because we all know it's a very serious issue.
It really is way beyond any governmental capacity right now. I mean, that's why the task force was formed on the state level as well as the local level throughout the Sierra Nevada, and it's going to be throughout the entire state eventually. But it's so far beyond what we can deal with. It's mind-boggling how fast the trees can die. Beautiful mature pine trees can die within. It seems like hours. I mean, I drive from here to my house and back, and it's like, oh look, there's another stand of trees dead. So the capacity for us to handle this is overwhelming. So my hope is that pretty soon we're going to be able to hire. We're in the attempt here at the county to hire somebody to actually be a project lead on this issue instead of just having Brian Moss add that to his duties. And also, I have to note that out of that task force meeting yesterday, Amador County reported that they were pulling out of their reserves $500,000 to deal with this emergency, because it is an emergency. And Amador County is actually to the north of us. And they have some spots that's worse than our county or equal, but they're not actually overall as bad off as we are. So I think that we need to maybe revisit, especially after we bring on somebody, that's the first step, revisit how much money the county needs to invest in dealing with this emergency, because it's beyond the pale of. I mean, it's remarkable how many trees, if you go down to Southern California and take a look at some of the southern counties, you're looking at 85 to 100% tree mortality in some areas. And so that is an overwhelming problem we have to really ramp up. So I'm thankful that Supervisor Oliveira is having that community meeting, and that's just the first of ones that we're going to be dealing with for years to come. So.
Yeah, the Butte Fire had a very definite start and continues on in a chronic way, whereas the tree mortality, I think, sort of slowly creeps up on you like that frog in the in the water that's being heated up.
Yeah, slow-moving emergency. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
But before you go on, could you say again where the meeting's at?
The meeting is going to be at Avery Middle School, 4545 Avery Road, which is just off Highway 4 in Avery, which is located between Hathaway Pines and Arnold on Highway 4 corridor.
At what time on the 13th?
11 o'clock. 11 o'clock is the start. I recommend that you get there a little early. We had to move it from a smaller venue. We anticipate a lot of participation. So that's why we moved it to the actual Avery Middle School.
All right. Peter?
This is what the bugs are doing to the trees, right?
Yes,
Okay.
that is.
Separate from the fire?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
totally separate operations.
I support you on it. My question is that how much the federal government participating in this, because it's also happening on the other side in Nevada. There's a couple of states involved, not just, we're not talking about counties, we're talking about state issues. Have the feds got their butt in there and doing something or aware of it?
You'll have that opportunity. We have the U.S. Forest Service is going to be there. Representation from Congressman McClintock's office is going to be there, and representation from Senator Bigelow's office.
My life is complete. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Peter.
Marty Crane, Part 3, public comment. There are many, many lessons that we can learn by paying attention well in advance, including where we are with the Butte Fire and how prepared or unprepared we were. We had many examples, such as the Rim Fire, the King Fire, many of these, and they were in your face, right there. We could have taken steps at that time and maybe softened some of the blow. But what I want to talk about is all the lessons that we could have learned from past boards and this is what spurred my desire to come today and talk about public comment. 2 weeks ago, and Mr. McManus addressed his personal issue with this directly with his supervisor
Point of order,
Supervisor,
Chair, is
what?
this addressing the agendized item?
And this is my issue.
Let's just, it's almost done.
We are to be tolerated,
From
apparently.
this public to another issue?
Let's just let her have her public comment. It's okay. It's only 3
And
minutes.
it's not fair to anybody else who wants public comment.
Well, I think it is because we are the public. And excuse me, but this is my time to speak. 2 weeks ago, Mr. McManus got up, made his statement, and I understood what he was saying, but apparently there were a couple of people on the board who misunderstood what he was saying. And Supervisor Kearney took offense at something and addressed it quietly and respectfully. But then Mr. Supervisor Oliveira piled on and piled on and piled on. And I'm sitting in the back room and I'm thinking, what is this? What is this? And our
Can you
chair...
relate this somehow to the agenda
Hold
item?
on. This is public comment.
No,
This
but
is how we...
It's actually, but...
You know what? This is the
I
problem.
know, Marty, but you see the...
If you let me finish,
I know.
I will be out of here and I will have said my piece. I've tried to say it earlier.
Put up with this.
See?
I know, I'm just trying to, because really, I mean, he's technically right, you're supposed to...
I know, but I have tried to do this over and over,
Yeah.
and you're not letting me do
I
it.
know, because that's not actually the rules of order, right? Is the
It
rules
is
of order
this is a
that-
public, this
I know,
is a
but-
point of order that I've been trying to make. And I could make it at any
I don't mind,
time.
I don't mind you, I'm happy to, and I'm just bringing it up to your attention, so you know that I'm willing to do that for you or anybody at this point to have the 3 minutes, but it really isn't on the subject.
Okay, well, just so you know, Supervisor Oliveira does not want me to continue on because it has to do with the public whipping that we all witnessed here 2 weeks ago. And that sort of thing used to happen all the time. It is, number one, disrespecting the spirit of public comment and disrespecting your bosses, the public, when they come here to share. And I believe it may even be closely having an issue with the legal application of public comment. Yes, I'm not talking about this particular issue, but this is the only opportunity I have. I don't see here at the end of the meeting where it says public comment, or I would have waited till then.
Okay. Thank
And
you,
yes,
Molly.
go ahead.
Thank you. Okay, any other public comment? Do you have a public comment?
Am I public?
Or would you like to do staff report?
It's on this subject?
Yeah.
You tell me.
On the tree mortality?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, your
Okay.
staff.
Jeff Krovitz, Calaveras County Public Works. On the tree mortality issue, current estimates that I don't think are current from U.S. Forest Service indicate about 650,000 trees in Calaveras County. Those are going to be shared along public right-of-way and on private lands and on federal lands. Although the federal lands are mostly high in elevation, and they don't seem to be experiencing the same level of mortality as the mid-elevation, the 2,000 to 6,000 foot elevation tend to be getting a much higher mortality. One thing I would like to relate is that where I am staying here in Calaveras County is 2 parcels on over 90 acres. The fire swept through there in Mountain Ranch and killed hundreds of trees on the parcel. One of the parcel was recently logged, and the dead logs were taken out and sent to a mill. That completed about a month and a half ago. In the last month and a half, on the parcel that was logged, there's been additional mortality due to drought and infestation by the beetles of probably another 40 or 50 trees. And these trees have little to no value. So there is the secondary impact of the Butte fire, that is tree mortality, that is not funded by the Butte fire. Trees that are dead do continue to put off pheromones that attract the bark beetles. They in turn do not land on the bug-killed trees that have been scorched by the fire. They go to an adjacent tree and kill that very quickly before they move on. So we are just at the beginning of this disaster, and unlike the Butte fire, which rampaged through in 3 weeks and did significant amount of damage, this will be a slow-moving one that will continue for years to come. Questions?
One quick comment. When Supervisor Rice was disseminated to us, that you're absolutely correct. The numbers that have been provided in the past are not accurate. they're actually increased, and they're devising new numbers now, and then they're going to be able to report those out, hopefully.
Yeah, that is one of the interesting things, is that it's trying to come up with an accurate universal number for how many trees are actually been killed. And the flip side of that is how many trees are actually alive in the state of California.
That's correct.
And they don't, and this is a discussion at the state task force yesterday, from the head of CAL FIRE, discussing that they really don't have, they have not come up with a precise number yet that they can use for both of that. So, because what's happening is there's different reports on out there in the media. So you have 66 million trees dead is the latest one I heard, but there's no official number. And then how many trees are alive is also a good question too. But it's regardless of that, I don't really get too caught up in that, because I think of our own particular backyards in our own district in our county, and you can see it happening each day, each week, each month. So, and you can expect it to continue to go based on every report we're seeing. So it's something that we're going to be facing. I'm going to be long gone. From this board, and it's going to be a problem that the next, 8 years, I think, that we're going to be dealing with. So my hope is that we start snowing tomorrow, and it doesn't let up for 6 months, and maybe that would help. But we're here, we're stuck with it. So
Yeah. My observations are both where I live up in El Dorado County, as well as the experience here with Calaveras. Both on Government Center campus, within the burn, and then in other areas that aren't burned in our forest-urban interface, is that we're at the beginning of this kill. The kill is due to a lack of water. And in spite of the fact that prior to the fire, we had a number of creeks and drainages that had been dry for the previous 4 or 5 years, and then after the fire had gone through there, within 1 to 2 days, those creeks started filling, is an indication of the volume of water that was being taken out of the top surface of the soil by the vegetation. Once that vegetation dried and no longer was pulling water out of the ground, the water surface, the water table actually came up to surface and would flow in these creeks. In spite of that, we are still experiencing tree kill due to climate change conditions. I believe we've taken out 5 trees here on campus, no more than that, because we did the walnuts. So I think we're closing in on 10 trees right now, and there are more to come just on the Government Center campus. And those are trees that are not truly competing. Those are, for the most part, ornamental with large spacing. They're only competing with themselves, and they're still dying.
okay. Any other public comment on this item?
Talked this much before to this board, I don't think ever. Just to let the board know that there are local agencies within our communities that are crunching the numbers right now to look at biomass options for the county. But we're going to need to see at least a 10 or 20-year supply before it'll pencil out. So just letting you know that it is something that not only is the county as a government agency working on it, but our local utilities are working on it as well.
Well, I've even heard of another option with the tree mortality as we take them down, where they're combining them with other natural waste like needles, etc., and grinding them up. And if they distribute them in orchards, the water use in the orchard is something like 37% less. So there's opportunities, and I'm going to approach it through our solid waste task force for something like this to evolve. So it's kind of like making lemonade out of lemons.
And I did bring up that point in the discussion with the other agencies, that if we could reduce the amount of biomass that would be coming into the landfill site, that would extend the life cycle of the landfill as well. So we're going to get a win out of it if we can divert this green waste into something that, even if it doesn't make us a lot of money, it doesn't cost us a lot either in how we move it. So these initial discussions, I think, are very important, that we look at all of the possibilities before we take our leap.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
All right, no, you already had yours. Any more public comment? All right, bring it back to the board.
I think I better move to approve.
Did we get a second?
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries 4-0 with 1 absent. Okay, moving to supervisor announcements. I'm going to read that, or do you want to read that? Or should we just decide that we know what it means?
Up to you.
Okay, supervisor announcements.
I have a Central Sierra Child Support meeting. I think the presentation that was made today to let folks know what they do. Meeting is on the 22nd of April at Bear Valley at 1:30. Have an IHSS meeting at 10 a.m. at the Senior Center on 8/29. And Mountain Valley EMS Agency meeting in 8:31 at 9 a.m. in Copperopolis. And I'll be beginning my attendance again on the Calaveras Recovers group, and we'll be meeting with that group this Thursday at 4 o'clock.
Thank you.
Once again, attended the Governor's Task Force meeting with Supervisor Wright in Sacramento yesterday. We are having another task force meeting locally tomorrow. I'm going to be talking with the folks at American Ambulance. They've invited us to, I hope you got the invitation also, for the luncheon?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. To discuss those areas. Saturday, we have the tree mortality meeting. I want to make sure everybody gets that address and the time and date, 11 o'clock. I also have a child support meeting with Supervisor Ponte. I'll be attending that. And I have a SIDS meeting in Angels Camp. SIDS is a subgroup of our Economic Development District. We're looking at a 5-year plan, developing that. There'll be a series of 3 meetings held in Mariposa County, Calaveras County, and Tuolumne County as one of the steering committees to where we're going to be in the next 5 years, which is very good. And lastly, I'll be attending a LAFCO meeting on Monday night here at the Board of Chambers.
I attended a COG meeting, of which I am a board member. I also attended a Commission on Aging meeting. I'm kind of a de facto member, and they always give me a moment or two to speak when I'm there. I'm excited to say that this year, on October 12th, we will have a Senior of the Year luncheon. We were able to get that at Dodosa Ranch. Has volunteered to let us hold it there and for a very reasonable cost. I'll give more details when I find them. It's in the planning stage right now, but I'm real fired up about it. It should be a grand time. There's a lot of things coming up on my agenda, and I'll discuss them as they do come up. But one of the things that I would like to report out on is that I've sat in the audience as a member of the audience in the past myself. I can recall one time discussing a subject or wanting to bring something up, and then the chair of the board was Marita Calloway, and she corrected me and had me sit back down because what I was discussing at the time was not pertinent to that particular agenda item, and she had me bring it back when it was appropriate. And that's the rules of the game. We, as board members, we may have more time to talk, but we've got county council often keeping us on track if we veer off the subject, and we have to stick with what we are talking about also. So I don't think anybody's being picked on when they are directed by the chair to stay on the subject. It is just part of what we all adhere to. And I've had to adhere to it as both a supervisor right now as well as a member of the audience. Thank you.
Is that it? Okay. I have nothing to report. All right.
I do. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes, so-
I do.
Sorry.
So I would like to announce that next Tuesday night here in the board chambers at 6 p.m. I'll be holding a meeting for any special districts that want to update their biennial conflict of interest code and any questions about Form 700s. So I will be here at 6 o'clock. Any questions they have, they can bring. I also wanted to announce that LAFCO will be hosting a ethics training that will meet the AB 1234 requirement for elected officials. And that's coming up, and that's coming up later in September. And then there's also I think in October, and then in September, LAFCO is hosting a CSDA, or California Special Districts Association, seminar here in the boardroom that will be specific to special districts, board members regarding financial planning and decisions for their districts.
All right.
Can I say something real quick, Chair?
No way, that's your chance.
Please,
No,
please.
no.
Please. It's important. It's important, okay? I brought this up before. As I said, that ever-energetic Katie Clark has a Help Butte Fire Survivor Beat the Heat push going on to collect water. You can go to Angels Camp at the Calaveras County Association of Realtors, Arnold at Carey's Critters, San Andreas Common Ground Senior Services, CUSD District Office, Herds Machine and Welding, Singleton Law Firm, and in Valley Springs at Terry Clark Insurance Agency. Drop off a case of water or a couple cases, whatever you can do, and we'll get people up in the burn area a drink during this time of need. So thank you for giving me a chance to spout that out.
Yes, yes. Well, it's been my pleasure to be acting chair, that's for sure. I'm glad that I get a bonus for doing this, what I've been told. But I do have to say, you know, it's always a tricky thing, you know, when with public comment and keeping things, you know, moving and the meetings in order, with also making sure that people have their First Amendment rights. That's really, there's that balance there, and I think that's the reason why, I think one of the reasons why we do give the chair a little extra, crumbs, because it's hard, because people are passionate about wanting to say their piece, and our, government is really, our entire history is based on, having the right to speak. So I think that it's something we should all keep in mind, even if we don't like what the person is saying and we feel that they're way off base, we do, have to keep a little open-mindedness just because of, how our country is founded. So with that said, any public comment?
Yes. Just a question. Is my recollection correct that used to be a public comment period? Because it's not on the agenda anymore, at the end of the meetings? There used to be one, I believe, and it's...
I think they moved that, didn't they?
Yeah. Not since I've been on the board.
Okay. If my recollection is correct, there used to be, hey, any public comment at the end of the meeting.
No, what it was is that there's a 30-minute public comment period at the beginning. If it runs more than 30 minutes, then that is continued to the end of the meeting.
Prior to it, we did, because I might have a question. When you guys work your butt off, all these meetings, I might have a question at the end of the meeting. Hey, particular item that would be nice to consider.
You can take that up with the chair next time.
Because it's kind of hard to push it over 2 weeks later on, okay? So you might want to consider it, that's all I'm saying.
I think the issue is, Peter, rarely do we have a meeting where we get out before lunch anymore. And if you were to wait, to encourage people to wait to do public comment till the end of the meeting, sometimes they might be going home after their bedtime, the way we've run them.
I'm happy to chime in here. As long as I've been here, the general public comment, there's two different types of public comments. There's the general public comment, which is for any items that are in the subject matter jurisdiction of the county, of the board, that can be brought forward and can be discussed during that public comment period. It's always been at the very beginning of the meeting. As long as I've been here, it's been at the beginning of the meeting. It's 30 minutes, and anything in excess of 30 minutes is rolled over to the end of the meeting to allow for us to move on and get the business of the county done. Then there is the type of public comment for the actual agenda item. So every agenda item that is that is in front of the board has its own separate public comment period specific to that agenda item. So you have, those are the two separate types of public comment periods. There's one for items that are not on the agenda, which is done at the beginning, and then there is public comment on every single agendized item while there is discussion prior to action of the board. So you can't go back after the board takes action on an item to have further public discussion or public comment on an item that is on the agenda. And the only time that we have generalized open public comment period at the end of the board meeting is when it rolls over after it takes more than 30 minutes at the beginning of the meeting.
But
Okay?
as far as the supervisor announcements at the end, that is on the agenda, so the public should have comment on that agenda.
Thank you, that's my point.
That is
On that agenda item.
right, and that is specific to just announcements in compliance with AB 1234. It's reporting out of events or things that you are doing to carry out your duties as a supervisor, and any public comment would be specific to that item. It would not be to open it up to anything that is not on the agenda again.
Thank
Does
you,
that make
ma'am, I
sense?
appreciate it.
Okay.
My impression was that after you folks reported, you do as well, because in the past couple of meetings, hey, everybody made a report, and thank you very much, lunchtime. But my is that when you do make a report, and somebody might want to have a question, I would be nice if you could give the opportunity, hey, I would like to know more about a certain meeting that you've been to or going to, you know? So that's my point I'm trying to make.
Thank you, Peter.
You're more than welcome, sir.
Thank you for the...
It was a pleasure.
Yes, as always.
We're trying our best to keep you here until past lunchtime, but
That's great, thank you.
I do remember a while ago, it shows how long I've been coming to these meetings, that the public comment time, at least at the beginning of the meeting, was 5 minutes long. But now it's 3, and that makes a considerable difference in the amount that you can say. But I did want to thank you, Chris, for keeping me on track and limiting me this time, but I will be back next time. Thank you.
Thank you, Rose. Thank you.
Yeah, I like that.
So this is not public comment, and this is just on board things, but I just wanted to say that this was a challenging morning, and I was trying to address a point of order from the last meeting, well, from 2 weeks ago, that I was not able to address at that point because we got shut down, and that was the point of my comments today. But it was, so we've missed the whole point today, so I hope you'll give it some more consideration. It's not always how long we get to speak, it is the conversation that we're having and whose right and responsibility it is to make sure that that happens.
Thank you, Marty. Any other public comments?
Who's buying lunch?
All right. See none? Any more board comments? No? Let's be adjourned.